Welcome to the Tech on Toast podcast. We are the home of hospitality tech. The Tech on Toast podcast is brought to you today by our friends at Lightspeed. The holidays are here and your restaurant is buzzing, but are you ready for the rush? The festive season is make or break time for many restaurants, filled with non-stop tableside service, kitchen chaos, and complex reservations. But what if you had a secret weapon? Well, Lightspeed is that weapon. It's the ultimate point of sale and payments platform that helps your team deliver seamless service and incredible experiences. Imagine your staff taking orders and payments right to the table with Tableside, or having your front and back of house perfectly in sync during peak hours. Wouldn't that be nice? Lightspeed gives you the tools to not only survive the holidays, but truly shine, all while saving time, reducing errors, and keeping guests coming back for more. This season, let your tech do the work for you. Close the year strong with Lightspeed Restaurant.
And just fell in love with hospitality. It was, especially, I think, it's quite lucky as well to get to a brand like John the Jews. Super high.
Take you one-on-one after.
Well, I haven't done it for a while.
I'd make you look like a pro again, put that way.
Trying to be the best possible from my sports career to just making coffee and juices.
Yeah.
That's what hospitality is about. Make people feel really special.
The industry loves loyalty, but hates complexity.
How can we build a CRM system at all that you can invest 5-10 minutes a month to really move the needle, really deliver value? Because that's, in reality, that's almost the time they have on that data capture. So we can ensure it's always highest quality and it's focused on customers who actually are engaged already with you.
I think being able to have it in one place, especially with the advent of AI now, because you'll be able to really nurture that data.
It always goes back to the place where you can just click and order, click and redeem, click and use this.
Times we just get lost a little bit in tech, and actually the reality is we've got to make more money.
We want every piece of product feel like it's your own thing. Like if you open the app, it feels like your own app on our wallet, our loyalty app, and our website ordering, which we also provide, then on Uber Eats. 60% higher volume.
Wow. Welcome to the next episode of the Tech on Toast podcast, and today I'm delighted to be joined by Frederick Szydlowski.
Great to see you.
Founder of Embargo. How are you, my friend?
Very well, very well.
I'm just practicing my pronunciation today. I've had a French guest this morning. I failed terribly, so hopefully I didn't destroy your name there.
You've done very well. Very impressed. Very impressed.
Thank you, my friend. And before we get into the product, which is growing and been a really exciting couple of years for you, let's talk about you a little bit. What's your background? I'm guessing, are you Polish?
Yeah, so I am actually half Polish, half German. I mean, my parents are Polish. I lived 12 years there, but I was actually born in Hamburg in Germany.
Oh, really?
So I've lived in a few places. I was born in Hamburg. When I was 7, I moved to Poland. It was the year 2000. It was quite crazy because it was a time where Poland was really sort of, going out of that ex-Soviet communism setup that obviously started changing in 1989, but it was really the 2000 and 2004 when they entered EU, where you start seeing everything that's happening now. You really see the beginning of that.
I guess it's
really
an exciting time, right, in terms of culture and creativity and everything else that was happening.
And I think just what they've done to go from and ultimately almost like a semi-Soviet country to now like top 18 economies
crazy
in the world, like crossing $1 trillion GDP. I mean, Poland has crossed GDP per capita of Japan this year. It's just ridiculous. So, but it was great to sort of see it as a kid and how it's been changing. And then, when I was 19, I decided to move to London. I had never been to London before I moved here. So it was one of those crazy decisions. Interestingly, I'm not that particularly tall, but I played professional basketball, actually.
Did you really?
Top division in Poland when I was 18, 19. There was a moment in time where I thought, okay, well, I can now either really spend the next 15, 20 years doing that and, this is who I'm going to be, or maybe it's the last moment I can actually change something. And I did attend English schools, so I thought, you know what, let's just make use of that. I mean, I don't have to be where my contract is anymore. I decided, not to play my second season in the top division.
Was it over here you were playing? Or
no, Poland. It was probably like top 5 leagues in Europe at that point. It was
I'm impressed.
Super high.
Take you one-on-one after.
Well, I haven't done it for a while.
I'd make you look like a pro again, put that way.
But it's been just this most amazing experience. And then I thought, I know the language. I want to go somewhere where things are happening on a big scale. I thought London is cool. It was still in the EU, so it was easy. And I just moved. It was one of those decisions where I just thought, okay, let's go. London, had never been there. Heard it's great. I applied for universities, jobs and all of that, and got here January 2013 and literally landed, got to Victoria Station from the airport and dropped my bags off. And it was very random. I was staying at my mums, friends, family had never seen in my life, and they just allowed me to stay for a few days. Ended up staying for 3 weeks or more. They were brilliant, so kind, and so helpful. And then I just went, cool, let's set up a bank account, let's get my national insurance number, let's do life. And it was just the most amazing experience. And I think I fell in love with London from day one, because it was the place where you could feel things are happening on a big scale. You can feel that this is the center of the world. Couldn't quite grasp it yet, but you can just feel as a 19-year-old, you're like, cool, I have no idea how to deal with things yet. I have no idea how things are going to turn out, but you can feel that this is where things are happening. And I walked into the Hammersmith Barclays branch, and I just walked in assuming, sure, I'm just going to get a bank account, right? I just landed. And I was very quickly told that, I'm a bit out of my mind. I don't have my national insurance number. I don't have an address. I have nothing. Took me 45 minutes. I asked for the manager. Imagine a 19-year-old kid just landed and said, can I speak to the manager? I did walk out with a bank account in the end after almost an hour and 45 minutes. And that was really the beginning. And I had to find a job. And this really what led me to hospitality, because obviously I came to study, but at the same time, I just had to pay my bills. I had to find a room. I had to somehow live this rather expensive lifestyle here. And I applied everywhere possible, and one of the places was Joe and the Juice. I walked into the original London side in Regent Street, just off Oxford Circus. At that time, they only had 4 locations in the UK. And I think a month later, I got the job and just fell in love with hospitality. It was, especially, I think, I was quite lucky as well to get to a brand like Joe and the Juice. It was like new, buzzing, and
I think when you're at the start of a growth journey, whether it's in tech or hospitality, you learn a lot quickly, and you get to stick around and see some really cool people as well, sometimes doing their thing, which I think always helps you grow, right? I was involved in a couple of brands in my career. You think, wow, I was lucky to be hired at that time or whatever, or just come across those people, because they're becoming less and less, I think, in the industry anyway. Less superstars, and from in the 90s and 2000s were some incredible people, business people.
It was, I remember it was like January, February 2013, in the evening, walked in, it was just these cool guys, serving juices, coffee, just the vibe was just so different to anything I've ever seen. And I just asked, hey, are you guys hiring? And one of the managers said, look, sort of, but just drop an email here. They did reply. Met the country manager, I think it's the cousin of the founder. Very quickly, met the guys who are now partners there as well. Back then they were basically opening and driving the early growth in the UK. So it's also really, really interesting and inspiring to like, my first interview was with them. My training on the first day was with Rasmus, who's one of the partners at Joe and the Juice still to this day. And I think it was just brilliant. And originally I thought I'm walking in there just to get a job to pay for my life whilst I'm studying, because I came on my own and with my own money, and I just said I'm going to do life on my own as a 19-year-old, which isn't easy in London. And I thought it was just going to be that. And then, I just fell in love with hospitality. I was just so blown away how different it is once you're on the other side, not on the consumer side anymore. And that changed everything to me. Like this was where I started feeling more and more like, I think this industry is here to stay in my life. And
And it has.
And it has indeed.
And what led to Embargo then? So how did you get from, I suppose, that experience of being on the other side? Because it is very much like a family, isn't it? Once you get into it and you're the other side of the fence, as you put it. What led to kind of your journey into tech?
So, whilst being at Joe and the Juice, right? I mean, I have this mentality. I probably took it from sports, where I was like, I almost transferred my this relentless grit of trying to be the best possible from my sports career to just making coffee and juices. It was probably almost ridiculous, from the outside looking at me, this 19-year-old kid literally being like, I'm going to be the best at this. I literally said, I want to be the best at this.
I'll tell you very quickly, there's a lady called Rita Gilligan, who was the very first waitress at Hard Rock Cafe. She's got an MBA of the Queen. She's now in her 80s, but she was the first server in 1967 in Hard Rock Park Lane. And she always talks about, if I was a window cleaner, I'd be the best fucking window cleaner, She goes, and that was her attitude to life. And she said, and that always served me well. And I think you're displaying similar mentality.
But that was literally that. I was paid $6.50 an hour gross. I nothing, right? Doing overtime, just working my ass off. But I was like, I'm going to be the best in this. But what it really led to is two things. So first of all, I suddenly got to know every single customer that was there. Like I was mainly working in the Kings Road site actually. Like when I would get off the Sloane Square tube and just walk down Kings Road just to go to the shop, literally, I mean, I was sometimes laughing every third person I would say hi to, because I was so engaged with this. I was like, I want to be the best at serving and getting to know everyone, like knowing the names, the family, everything. And I suddenly just became part of that community there. And also, you know, it was even the country manager, Morton, who then originally interviewed me and hired me. He then once met with me and said, look, everyone talks about like you and Freddy's magic. And I was like, okay, that's cool. Yeah, apparently like every single customer just remembers you. And I think it was genuine, because I just wanted to make everyone feel great. I felt like that was just my intuition. That's what hospitality is about, make people feel really special. And yeah, I was serving juices and coffee. And I think what that led to, because I started getting to know a lot of people, suddenly, you know, they started to invite me to the personal lives as well. I was invited for dinners, for some events, you know, and you do meet some very interesting people in Chelsea and Kings Road, right? From football players to like, you know, celebrities to these amazing businessmen and women. And then I was once randomly invited to this 30th birthday party at Café Royal. You had, you know, like Tatler was covering that.
Is that Café Royal in Leicester Square?
Yeah. So it was like private hire. Yeah. It's like maybe 40 people. Tatler was covering it. That's the sort of guest list was there.
Yeah, sounds like an event.
And then suddenly was this random 19-year-old juicer from Joe and the Juice, totally out of place. And then I met at that party. I met Guy Pelly and Mark Burton, the guys who created Tanteria and a few other obviously very successful businesses. And long story short, we chatted, and then we met a few days later, and they offered me a job. They said, look, if you want, I was still studying. They said, if you want, from January you can join our marketing team. We'll give you 3 months to just show if you're not just someone who has a good chat and you know, because what really sparked interest, they said, I really enjoyed talking to you that evening. And then I asked about you, some of the other guests and people from the crowd, and everyone knew you. Yeah. How is that possible, right? And it's okay, let's talk. And they gave me a chance in the marketing team. And I think that was, again, this sort of really big shifting moment, because I went from sort of just helping to manage a cafe, let's say, a juice bar. I was actually at that point also training new members of staff. I was really involved with how we do things on the ground with you know, at the Joe and the Juice shops back then. But then I really suddenly moved and was really exposed to the P&L, to the marketing, to the revenues, to the events, to all of that as part of the marketing team. And obviously their teams were incredible. Like the things they were doing, the revenue they were making, it was really mind-blowing. But on the first day, first weeks of that, I had no idea what I'm supposed to do, whether I'm even going to stay here, because I really didn't know where to start. But I thought, you know what, let's just take the opportunity, let's learn. And again, fast forward 6 months later, the guys made me head of marketing of one of the businesses, and I was turning 21, and I was, I think, one of the youngest, not the youngest, and head of marketing back then. I said, look, it's your team now. They fired a couple of people. It's like, you get your team together, you run the marketing, you have the P&L exposure, these are your targets for the business.
Wow.
You run the show. And it was a business turning, you know, millions. You know, we'd host the biggest celebrities in the world, from, you know, Prince Harry to Ed Sheeran to Justin Timberlake. I mean, you name them. You know, we created one of the most famous Monday nights. We created really cool, you know, this crazy festive Mexican dining. Yeah, I mean, it's just, it was the most incredible and really one of the most creative times in my life. And that was, again, actually where the whole idea and the whole, I think, maybe, like the seed around Embargo was planted back then. Because I was a very savvy young guy coming to the industry with no legacy, thinking how things should be run. So I would just challenge everything. And I was like, why are we not doing this? Why is not that? It's almost like this little kid, you know, asking constantly, why? And one other thing that was crazy to me, because I was really into marketing, I would study marketing. I mean, I did drop out because I was too busy working. But for me, running marketing for consumer business, and every hospitality business is a consumer business, is ultimately knowing who your consumers are. I mean, 100% of your revenue comes from these consumers. You should better know who they are, when they visit, when they stop visiting, have ways to communicate with them, sell to them, upsell to them. Like, just don't leave all your revenue to chance, basically. And to me, it was crazy that we had almost no proper tools to do that. And I think still the late night industry is still a bit different. You can sort of get away without it because it's a very niche audience, and there's other ways you can sort of do it. But then I started meeting a lot of industry folks, right? A lot of people running restaurants, bars, cafes. And I started asking questions. It's like, so what do you guys use? Because I wanted just a solution for our business to make our data capture better, to make our ways we can reward our customers, engage with them, and really drive the brand beyond its door, its venue. And most had literally no solutions, or solutions that just sort of tried, didn't work out. And the more I was going into this, I was struggling to find a solution for ourselves to drive more loyalty. We knew we do rely on a lot of regulars, drive more sales, drive more brand awareness, brand loyalty, et cetera, and actually understand how our customers interacting with us. And I didn't plan to actually set up a tech business per se, but around that time as well, one of our regular customers who became a friend of mine, he was I think his 10th year in investment banking, very successful. And we started talking about it, and he was obviously exposed to like the biggest consumer brands in the world, looking after the likes of Nestle, et cetera, and we talked a lot about how the biggest consumer brands in the world, what they do to capture data, to engage with consumers and sell more, et cetera. And at the same time, he had this idea for like a dating social app as well, which was somehow related to hospitality. And he was talking about this, but one of the sort of side effects of that was also meant to give those restaurants where people can socialize and use the app to sort of socialize, engage, and almost date, would also get the data of these customers. And we thought that's an interesting angle, but we then, one thing led to another. We dropped the whole social dating thing, and we ended up thinking, well, what if we build a loyalty CRM system, something that's really built for the hospitality industry? Because for us, the thinking was very simple. 75% of the hospitality market are SMEs. By SMEs, I mean anything from like one location to 100, 150 even, right? It can be large. Like some of the SMEs can actually be not that small. And in all honesty, most of them have no clue who they serve. They have no database. They have no ways to interact with customers, no ways to drive loyalty, drive their own sales.
And no time to build or maintain something.
Yes, and then we look at what has been out there. And we just saw this graveyard of solutions who tried to solve this problem. Some went the white label route, but then the quality was super low, and obviously, the maintenance, those SMEs, even when they grow, they end up really struggling with this. Or it was the element of sort of creating tools that were just doing very little for their business. Or there were tools that were very hard to implement because, it's when you sell to an enterprise, usually your thousands of shops, let's say Tesco, they will all have the same till system, the same, setup.
Some uniform.
It's everything unified. In SMEs, I mean, there's as many, let's say, POS systems as there's restaurants, right, out there. And they change them as well. So you're almost like, okay, how do you build a solution that they can really work with any setup? And so all of these things started coming to us. And at some point we thought, you know what, we're going to drop everything.
And I think in the industry, I think the industry loves loyalty, but hates complexity. And that's the problem, or deals really poorly with complexity. You talk, just complexity in POS, for instance, because as you say, I think Doja told me there was 650 POS in the UK. Is that right?
Maybe.
I mean, how they've all got customers, I
wouldn't be surprised.
But sometimes I go to a trade show, I see a stand, like a £20,000 stand.
Never heard of it.
And I say to the guy, I said, we have one customer in Birmingham, we're just growing. I was like, how'd you build this? It's a big customer. So that complexity side of things, I think, is huge. Not just in tech, in the day-to-day running of a business. I mean, back to loyalty cards when you used to stamp them, right? Which still exists in.
Well, it's still the most common and popular and successful loyalty solution in the world when it comes to hospitality. But that's another thing. What was really interesting for us is to think, look, it's totally fine to walk into a coffee shop, a restaurant, a bakery, a grab and go, and be handed that piece of paper. It's totally fine, acceptable, still most popular. But it sounds totally ridiculous if you were to board a plane and be handed a card, or walk into a hotel, or go to a Tesco and just be handed that card. It's ridiculous. So, but actually, we're talking about consumer businesses here and there. It's actually even the same consumers who shop and buy there who also come to you, but it's totally fine. And there's two ways you could approach this. One thing is like, because hospitality isn't savvy or tech savvy or whatever, which I disagreed. I thought, no, it's just that the loyalty card does a few things really well that currently every SME operator, like there's some pain points that these operators need to face, and that paper card sort of goes around it and doesn't touch those pain points.
That's what we do. I mean,
right?
Operators will always find a shortcut to a lot of time.
And I don't blame them. And I don't blame them, because it's about, do you understand who are the stakeholders of your experience? That was really the beginning. Who are the stakeholders of the experience when going, let's say, to down here to Island Poke or Honey Poke? You have the person at the till. You have the person preparing the food. It's the consumer standing literally there at the till, and 10 behind them as well. They're all stakeholders of that experience at the moment. There is the manager who wants to make sure everything goes fast, and then there's the owner who wants to make sure that they're making money, basically, right? So you have almost like 5, sometimes even more stakeholders of that experience. Now you need to build a system that doesn't just somehow either works or can work alongside all your current solutions like your POS or all of that. It also needs to satisfy and reward and give value to each of those stakeholders. It's
a really unique way of explaining it, actually.
It's the most fragile and difficult user experience you can think of. Because if you go and you book your airline ticket, or you book your hotel, or I don't know, you go and shop on your H&M store, I mean, you have all the time in the world. You're sitting in your office, at your home. There's no one behind you, no one in front of you. 20 people preparing stuff, and you member of staff with no clue what's happening because it's the first day. It's fine. You can build things, and you can make them a bit more complex, and add things and clutter them because you want different stuff here. It has to be so that simple. And whilst keeping this, you need to find this really difficult middle ground between the simplicity that you mentioned to ensure that the members of staff don't feel like it's a burden, that the consumer that is in the rush, potentially not very tech savvy, already late for a meeting, finds it quick and easy to use. Then the guys behind them also don't find it like that this thing is clogging up the queue. But at the same time, it needs to give enough value to the other stakeholders, which is the manager, the owner, etc. So how do you find this, and how do you make it work? And then how do you make it work at scale? And then how do you bring enough value so as you scale, you don't become this sort of, flavor of the month that raises tons of money, gets lots of customers, and then a year later it's gone.
Who are you talking about?
Right?
No, but it's a common path that I think in hospitality tech has been trodden for a while, right? Probably less so the last couple of years, but prior to that, 5 years or so, there was a lot of people who came along, raised a lot of money, and probably did not a lot. And the one big driving factor behind, I think, loyalty CRM is obviously data and the collection of it, and the relevance of it, and the distribution of it then to the same stakeholders you talked about, actually, because I'm going to use that everywhere I go now. I'll always quote you back, Fred. But it's a really useful way of looking at who's involved in that process. How do you go about making sure that in you want to deliver a simple UX, but you also want to have this complex behind it where you've got data that's relevant to all those different stakeholders?
Yes, but at the same time, the backend still, like how we build the CRM, right, which is ultimately the heart of our system. We also try to build it with the same, I would say, understanding of the user journey. Now, let's move to the backend. Let's move to the merchant user journey, not the consumer in store. Let's look at, like, I don't know, I own 10, 20, 30 shops. It's still very likely that it's not like you have a massive head office now with 10 data analysts, 5 marketing managers.
Pete's Pilgrim's office holds about 8 people, I think.
Yeah, and that's probably still a lot,
Regent
right?
Street,
And that's a massive business with some funding and all of that, right? A lot of them, it's nothing. Now, the reality is that you have almost no time for this. You have almost no time for this. So what I believe is that the 20%, 80% rule, right? Usually, only the 20% of the stuff you use or you do delivers the 80% of the value. So same thing here. How can we build a CRM system at all that you can invest 5-10 minutes a month to really move the needle, really deliver value? Because that's, in reality, that's almost the time they have. So the way we thought about this is 2 things. So first of all, the data, because again, there's the data capture, there's the data like displaying the data, and then it's giving tools to use the data, right? Now let's start with the capturing data. Now, historically in our business, I think there was a lot of solutions that were trying to put together all the different data points from different platforms, from different sources, and try to make sense of it. And that's brilliant. I think, there was some that did it super well. Yeah. The problem there is that it's always third-party data, which ends up very random. I mean, think of, sure, some people do log into the Wi-Fi with the correct data, but majority just leaves random data points. And sure, it's still super valuable to have it, don't get me wrong. I think, if you have a Wi-Fi system that doesn't collect data, then you're missing opportunities. But we thought it's like, realistically, these guys have very little time. So what about we focus on those customers who are really engaged, the real data, the first party? How can we generate a first party data, not just be a tool that just integrates with 20,000 things and tries to make sense out of this? How about we own all those sales channels, all those customer journeys, and try to give you first-party data, so people who directly sign up to that system, they're going to then use. So if someone uses the app, they can use it in store to collect the stamps, the points. They can use it for click and collect, for delivery. If they order through the website, well, guess what? We also provide that. So we capture the data as well. Now, kiosk software, we do all of that. We put every customer journey, every sales channel, that is not, an integration with something and try to make sense out of it. No, we own that sales channel, we own that data capture, so we can ensure it's always highest quality, and it's focused on customers who actually are engaged already with it. Engaged enough that they at least placed that one order, or collected that first pointer, had some genuine interaction. It wasn't just a random connection or random, data drop. So we thought, how can we capture first-party data that is within our ecosystem, because we can then ensure it's the highest quality? Then how we do display this? Then how do we build a CRM system that you can look in and really, it's like, top down. So we do a lot of summaries, and you can go deeper and deeper. How can they make it better? The beauty of us is that we don't just build white label solutions for everyone. So that means we have 3,000 merchants and millions of people using sort of the same software. It is like their own app. It is like their own thing, but it's ultimately on the same software, on the same platform, which means that if a guy who owns a couple of restaurants in, Manchester gives us a great idea, and we thought, man, this is brilliant. We'd love to add this summary, this data sort of analysis. We can add it, and we have it available for all thousands of merchants.
And I do think that best in class versus all, that conversation's gone for a while. I think with data, people want it in one place. I just, going back to my operator's shoes when I used to be in that position, logging into 6 or 7 different platforms, presenting back on it, dissecting it, understanding the data. I think being able to have it in one place, especially with the advent of AI now, because you'll be able to really nurture that data in a really useful way. And I do think people are starting to lean into that world more, because they want to get a better picture of what they're doing.
I mean, for us, it was always like just the quality of data, because I think the problem was that a lot of data wasn't captured, but then a lot of the quality was just really low. Yes. We couldn't do much with it. I mean, just sending a newsletter every now and then is not really using data, right? No. So, but for us was like, and I want to actually touch upon this best-in-class element as well. So for us was like, then how do you display this? And then the last thing is, how do you make it so idiot-proof, easy and simple? Like using that paper card, is using the CRM to actually use that data to drive any business, or try things to drive the business. So we say they need just a few minutes a month to start using the tools. We have 6 different marketing tools, well, now 7 in fact. They can use it to do some very targeted email campaigns, push messages, in-app messages, stamp cards, gift cards, different type of stuff that you can use to engage. But again, because we have the first party data, and then we have a customer facing system, which is web-based and app-based, whatever data you use, you can then reuse and again engage back with the consumer. So it's not just an email or a text message that goes somewhere randomly and there's nothing to do with it. It always goes back to the place where you can just click and order, click and redeem, click and use this. Ask yourself, why is it a Starbucks and McDonald's spend respectively between $500 million to almost $1 billion a year on technology? And a big part of this does go into the app and the systems and all of that. Is because they know that to really use data and get the most out of this, they need a customer-facing thing. If this data is just there and then just lands just in the email inbox and that's it, there's no customer-facing tangible product like an app, like a website or something like that, it just doesn't go anywhere. If you just, if you just want to issue a wallet pass, that's great, but there's very limited stuff you can do with this. And the biggest place in the world do invest in that customer-facing part, because that's where you deliver the revenue ultimately.
And how much time do you have to spend? Because you've got to preach a little bit, haven't you? I suppose, because you are in a position where, because you're managing all that first-party data, are you having to not convince customers, but when you're meeting customers, is this part of the story saying, look, I can help you if you like, or Embargo can help you if you like, but you have to want to really invest in this, because I think that's where we're at in the industry. I think we're at a crossroads where people need to go deep on technology, particularly in customer facing. I agree. I think if you look at the airlines and all the other guys, they've been doing it for years, right? And Tesco, Club Card, I'm bored of hearing about it, you know. But it's true. They invested in front of the customer and they're getting the return. Yeah. And I just don't think we get that. Some probably doing hospitality. I'm not telling everybody, but I don't. Not on a broad basis.
No, but the thing is, you said about best in class or all in one. I think, like, you need all in one best in class solutions.
Yeah.
Like, you cannot anymore take shortcuts. So our thinking is that, look, that was a strategic conversation a while ago that we had. Is say, okay, do we just focus on the one thing and become just good at this, and then the rest we just integrate with other partners? Or do we really own every part of this and make it the best possible? For us, it was like, I don't want to rely on someone giving me a good product. If our ambition is build every single thing the best possible, the best in class, the highest rated on the App Store, like our app, we have to own it. And we have to be able to give the merchant this one thing they can use. They don't need to use all of it. That's fine. We also need to make it flexible. But we need to be able to provide this, because then we can control and ensure that's the best in class that we want. So we then said, look, we're not just going to do loyalty and then integrate with tons of CRM systems. We need to provide a CRM with the first-party data right away so you can use that data. Sure, we can share that data with the likes of Klaviyo as well and all of that, but really there needs to be this first-party solution that you can use right away. Then delivery, click and collect through the app. There were the temptation, let's just integrate with some other place who just do that. I'm like, no, because why do I need to force a merchant to sign up to 5 different platforms to use my solution? Really, and without any control, because I know the way I want to build products. I know how I like to move fast. I cannot then hope that someone gives me what I want. I need to deliver that.
And from the front, I'm being on the front end of this, right? Dealing with customers weekly in hospitality. That is the blocker. Every tech guy listening, that is the blocker. Integrations is a bloody nightmare, and it's I don't know if it's getting better or worse at the moment. We tend to be just banging into each other all the time, and then obviously people are upselling the one bit they might have. Say you've got an all-in-one. You might be the next door guy who's best in class. I'm putting my fingers in the air, and he might have 2 bits of your 7, right? Yeah. But then he's trying to upsell his bit, and it's just. My opinion is we're dealing with some bigger pub chains at the moment. They want to go as least logins as possible.
But it's very difficult, of course, because it's very hard to be it's very hard to keep that discipline of building multiple features products in one and still keep it best in class. I think that's usually what the conversations we have with a lot of our customers who, let's say, have a POS system.
So they might be an expert in POS, but the other bits they've built
because for example, I have a POS system, but they sort of can launch your website ordering. They have like a loyalty add-on. But that's the problem, because they're usually also really big businesses who make 99% money on the POS and payment.
Like the 80-20 rule, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly, right? And it's hard to then suddenly build that discipline. For us, was like, if the success will come from the fact that whatever we build has to eventually be the best in the world in what we do.
But like, I love that, best in class, but all in one.
Every single part needs to be best in class. It might not be on day one, but we cannot just assume that we do something and just leave it for years and just assume it's sort of there, but it's not good enough. Of course, we might not be it on day one, but we can also not say like, oh yeah, we sort of do loyalty, so the ordering is just there. No, the ordering needs to be best in class. This is why we now have restaurants literally showing us numbers that they, for example, we just had a restaurant telling us that they had 60% higher volume on delivery through our loyalty system, like our loyalty app and our website ordering, which we also provide, than on Uber Eats. 60% higher volume.
Wow.
And we have more and more cases like this now, where suddenly, because we're giving them best-in-class ordering systems linked to loyalty, super comprehensive, like offering CRM data-driven like engine to drive these orders, what suddenly happens is they can actually compete. They can actually build powerful own channels, and then guess what? Also invite these people back to the restaurant. But it really came from the fact that it has to be best in class, and that takes time.
Yeah, I mean, I liken it to running a restaurant business, right? If you can have a brilliant waiter in a section who is and they used to joke, and we used to call it aces in places, right? It was a phrase we used to use. Put your best waiter on section A because he'll make the most money. But why don't we put a great waiter in A, B, C, D, E, right?
Exactly.
And that obsession, and the best brands did that. The best brands would put brilliant people in every part of their business and would obsess with it. That's what you're talking about. You're talking about building product where we, obviously at the start of this journey compared to, I don't know, CRM, we're further back, but we will be as good as that in CRM as we're as good in loyalty, whatever it might be, right? I think that's what, if I'm a consumer listening to you or a buyer, I want that obsession. I want to know that you actually, it's not going to be a retention tool by having a bit of an extra bit on my kit, because that'll just keep them happy if we need to sell them that bit later on. I really want to hear that obsession and know that actually you want your product to be as good as I want my restaurant to be.
And I can tell, like, our role in our product team, and this is very simple. If we ever look back at our product as a whole, from 12 months ago, at any point in time, we look, how did it look like? What did it do? How did it work 12 months ago? And then we don't look at each other and go like, how the fuck did we sell this? This is like, you almost, if you don't cringe how bad that was,
it's like your first
that
website,
means,
isn't it?
that means you're not growing fast enough.
Yeah.
This is, you want to almost feel like, my God, we've changed things. And it's hard, but this is how the best companies in the world, the best technology companies in the world, that's how they work. Think about Apple, think about Airbnb, like pick any of those like really best solutions. Whatever they do is best in class. Yeah. Apple doesn't go, oh yeah, we have a great MacBook, let's do a shit phone.
No, that'd be a really bad business plan. Yeah.
Obviously, they didn't get the phone, on day one. They just focused on something, but you have to build that. That takes time.
Yeah.
That takes a certain type of investor to believe in that long-term vision as well. So that, as a founder, is not easy. But also, we can do this because, again, we want every piece of product feel like it's your own thing. Like if you open the app, it feels like your own app on our wallet. Yeah. If we do your website ordering, it's all in your branding. You can connect it to your domain. Like really make it your thing. Kiosks, everything is sort of yours from a consumer almost vision. But because we have it all on one platform, we always were tempted, obviously, by customers like, oh, why don't you just do white label? But that's when it's hard to deliver that quality. And be best in class in all of these things, because suddenly you need to maintain hundreds of these different apps, customers, and it's, as much as it's unified, it still isn't. So I think we had to stay really focused, not get tempted. And by the way, I think there are some really good white label solutions. And this is not anything saying that
you're talking about your vision, right?
But I think it's almost like you always have to take shortcuts if you build bespoke for everyone separately, and then you have these hundreds of these bespoke products out there. Like, you can really build best in class when it's there. And they look at Shopify, right? Of course, they make you feel like it's your own thing, but ultimately it's all built on Shopify. And it's not framework. None of this is white label, really, right? Yeah. And this is why they are so great, and this is why they're so strong. And of course, and by the way, there's a lot of other solutions as well, which are even better, to be honest. But they are just really well known, so I like to use them as an example. But that was really the vision. It's like, how can we do this? And today, obviously, it's a lot to manage because we have the loyalty app, which is the highest rated food and drink app on the UK App Store, 4.9 out of 5.
If I had a round of applause button, I would press it there.
But I was really like obsessing about that in-store journey, and really understand how can we make sure all the stakeholders are happy.
I probably took you the wrong way at that point, because I was going to ask you a bit more about adoption, because I think one of the problems with loyalty, or with the thirst for loyalty, is that kind of buy-in from both user and consumer, and I think you guys have. I think you've done a good job on that, haven't you? I think you've got that adoption piece seems to go pretty quick from both ends.
Yeah, I think what is, because we have this like 3-dimensional network effect. Now let me explain. On one hand, we have the network effect on the merchant side. Obviously, I can now go to any merchant and say, look, there's 3,000 venues, restaurants, cafes, QSRs using this solution. You know it works. It's not that we're going to build now something for you that should work because we sort of done it. No, you're going to use the same tech actually in your branding, in your colors, and really speaking you, but it's the same tech. So there's a network effect where obviously it's much faster to get the merchants. Now what happens as well is that with every merchant, our product becomes even better, because very, very few of the product developments are actually driven from me and my team sitting in a room and coming up with stuff. We have a backlog of ideas and suggestions from these thousands of businesses. Yeah, but we can really, almost every business that joins is like a product advisor. Yeah. Because they'll have a certain need, a certain thing that they thought about, an idea that we can then put together and implement. But guess what now? We implement that based on that one feedback and idea. And boom, it's available to all thousands of them. And then you have the user network effect. Sure, the user journey feels like your own app on our wallet. It's like instead of opening the Apple wallet, you open the Embargo wallet, which is the app, and it will have a full screen your brand, because we'll recognize where you are. We'll know that from those 2 free loyalty cards you keep in that Embargo wallet, you're about to walk into Honey Pokey, Island Pokey, right? Cool, so we'll pull this app, and you know it's there as a full own app almost experience on our wallet. But then what happens is I don't have to then download yet another app because my local coffee shop uses that as well. So it's a user network effect, right? Like, we almost doubled the amount of monthly transactions from a year ago in September with no user marketing spend. It's just the network effect. And Sally, also the user, like if you are a restaurant, a coffee shop, you obviously want to look after your regulars. You give them the best coffee, the best ambience. And if you know they're regular as well, you try even harder, right? Now, the worst thing you can do is to give them this great coffee, this pastry, this food, great service, and then give them excuse my language, shit tech product. Yeah. Then you ask them to download something, and then it's like 1.8 App Store rating, or it's just like this pasta doesn't do anything. It's just like how can you give me all of this amazing stuff and then give me this? So what we then suddenly have is like, cool, you open the app, it's a 4.9 out of 5 based on thousands of ratings. It's probably your mate also told you about this. So it's this, you create a network effect among the users. But the most powerful network effect is what I sort of touched upon earlier, is the product. Yeah. Every single time we launch a customer, it's a new source of data information, how we can make the product better. Every user is a new source of point of data that we analyze to understand the user journeys better. Even more, Apple, Android, they launch new phones and new operating systems like every few weeks. To make the apps really, really work, you have to almost release a new version every few weeks, and you need to be on this. Now, the good thing though is if there's a new Android phone that came out of nowhere, like another weird brand, and we have a guy in, I don't know, Richmond using it in one of the shops and something didn't work because it's this crazy new phone. Well, we get that info, we know it, we fix it, and it doesn't happen again for any of the shops worldwide, should anyone ever have this phone. So we're always ahead. We don't need every single venue to come to us and say, hey, I think iOS has changed something. Hey, we know, we follow the trends and we know what's happening. But if something is flagged once, we fix it everywhere. So suddenly you have this as well. So you have this network effect, and that creates the adoption among the merchants, among the users, and just making sure there's the best in-class solutions and all. And then if we say now we're building website ordering, we can build something within a few months that has all the features, all the needs that some of the website-only ordering platforms have spent years to build. Because we literally ask our customers, what do you need? Imagine you can build this from scratch. How would you like this to be built? And we build this. And we build this off the parts of the system we already have. We don't need a new system to upload your menu. We already have the menu anyway, because you're probably offering orders through the app. It's linked to your loyalty system. We have your branding. So within 2 clicks, a venue who, let's say, did some click and collect or delivery through our loyalty app and wants to now do their own website ordering, it takes around 5-10 minutes to launch this.
It's crazy.
Like I was on a call last week with a guy, and he was like, because I saw they launched this website ordering, it's like, yeah, Freddy, it took us like a year to get it up and running, ready how we wanted it, this and that. And I'm like, okay, like, stay on the call. Within 5 minutes, I said, hey, here's the link, just embedded in your website. And it's connected to your payment. It's sending orders already to your POS. It's linked to your loyalty system, to your CRM, has all your products, has everything on there. I just placed an order, actually. It's already went to your store, to the website. And the team are preparing it at the moment. It literally, 5-10 minutes. So this is what you want, because with every product you're building upon that, suddenly, it just gets easier and easier. And I think, again, we've been so busy building products over the last 2 years, and, we're still a tiny team. I almost feel like we haven't actually had the time to even market it. A lot of customers don't even know we offer all of these things. And these are the most amazing moments during some demos. We say, yeah, we do all of this and all of that. It's like, wow, I had no idea. And this is the big shift as well this year, where we just have customers taking the full thing. We have chains now joining that have 50 plus locations, 60 plus locations, like literally launching as we speak and taking the full whack.
And what's, I suppose, because I'm going to run out of time with you, because you are good. But what's the big learning? Because you're still a young founder, right? You're still going through, from a 19-year-old arriving in London to this point, you've probably learned quite a bit, right? And you've been. I love your story, by the way. It's super interesting the way you kind of got to this point. But what are the big learnings so far from Embargo, I suppose, from the Embargo journey, and where do you see it going? Because you have just raised some money. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah.
Just congratulations. Raised some money in a really tough environment again, right? Being able to raise in tech at the moment. So where do you see yourself? Kind of what have you learned so far, and where do you see yourself going?
I think a lot of patience. I think we live in a world where a lot of people want overnight success, and it's very tempting to do things that might serve you in the short term, but will bite you in the ass in the long term. Like for me, at least personally, it was always the case, how can I build an industry-defining solution? Then the long term will just be the go-to. Like, you open a restaurant, you open a shop, or you really want to grow, this is the go-to across all these things. But that takes time. Yeah. It would have been much easier. We probably would have had a better, easier job a couple of years ago to raise money faster if we just said, we're just going to do that one feature. Because that's sexy, it's easy to show in the P&L. I don't need to talk about the products I will build. I can just say, based on this, I want to raise that to achieve, this. But then, I can maybe just put a lot of money into some very, vanity metrics and growth, and my investor will tap me on my back and say, well done, great quarter. But my thinking is, sure, we need to be obsessed with and driven with like fast deployment, improvements, and just like working 24/7 to move things forward faster and better than anyone else. But really, I should almost not care where we are this quarter. What I should care with making every decision is decision helping me to achieve the long-term success, which is then multi-products that we own, not just integrate. Multi-products that each one is best in class, or eventually becomes best in class. They're interconnected, and constantly building with that empathy for that single user, for that single operator. Because if we make it work, that even that single operator can use it and interact with this, then if you have a team, you'll do crazy stuff with that.
I think that's one of the things I really like about this, that you haven't forgotten that person. Because I think what happens generally with tech, you build it, all of a sudden we ask the tech partners, who's your ICP, who do you want to serve? Mid-market is probably the most common answer we get, right? Which makes sense, it's multiple sites and you make more money quickly. But I think when that happens sometimes, that actually the guy who owns the little bakery on the corner where your idea was born, or whatever it might be, just gets forgotten a bit, or the tech doesn't really exist for him anymore. Yeah. So I think keeping them in mind is...
Whereas actually, some of them are one of the savviest operators you can meet out there. Yeah. I know...
Because they're still open, and they're one of them.
Yeah, but I know operators that have 1-2 shops that are so much savvier and like more clever about how to use solutions than some customers I meet that have 20, 30, 50 stores.
100%.
And the interesting part is also, it's the long-term thinking. I signed up Hermanos Coffee when they had 2 sites. Like Victor and Santiago were still serving coffee in that little Old Street station, little hut. Yeah. And today it's like 10 sites, tens of thousands of followers, like one of the most successful sort of cool local specialty coffee shops, and probably going to open many more. But we started with them when they're 2. BB's, we started with their 1 location in Soho. It's like a lot of these guys, like if you support them, you become their partner, they grow with you.
Yeah.
And I think, sure, I'm not going to lie, we focus a lot now on groups. As I said, we just signed up a group of 55 location, another one, like in the last couple of months, we closed something like 10 plus groups between 20 and 60 sites. And like, it's just, we've never seen so much momentum. But we also still onboarding tons of single site. But again, because we made it easy, we constantly thought about how to make it simple. Whether you have 1 site or 60 sites, if you really wanted to go, you could go live within a few days. Like literally 1 to 3 working days, you could be live across all products if you really wanted to. That's how easy it is. So we almost, sure, we focus a lot on the main market because they're in a growth mode. But if someone has 1 site and wants to go live and do it, it's so easy. Like, why not? We want to empower them. And we always bet and hope that these guys will have 5-10 stores in the next couple of years.
And also, as you said, they're the flywheel, right? So they're going to keep giving you feedback, and some of these guys and girls who run these businesses are absolute gold. And with the money you've raised, what is the plan to? I mean, I know the plan is to be best in class in all of your verticals, but is there any other plans? Are you going to build anything else? I feel like you're a builder, Freddy. You can build anything else.
Yeah. So. We've deployed the web ordering recently, which has been doing amazing, like almost like more than we expected at the early stage. We're just deploying table ordering as well. There's a lot of stuff around sort of payment, around these sort of online channels as well. We were awarded the Smart Innovation Grant as well earlier this year. So actually building we can read about it online as well. We using the fact as well that all the venues and all the merchants and all the campaigns and everything is happening on one platform. We already built, actually, I can already say that we already built our own model, our own AI model, which is ultimately learning all the stuff that has been happening based on tens of millions of transactions, stamps, campaigns, and everything, so that I can come to you. Let's say you're operating 5 coffee shops or 10 restaurants in the city. I can come to you and say, hey, Chris, it's going to be raining tomorrow. Here's a suggested email push message offer campaign to these customers who usually order food for delivery when it's raining. Then you have these customers who haven't been back for a while, but last time they were usually purchasing from you was on those rainy days. Here's the offer they should, based on lookalike businesses and users, help them most. And by the way, the data also shows that there's this 50 customers in this store. They used to visit 3 times a week and have been visiting once a week. We recommend these sort of tools and campaigns to interact with them to get them back to 2, because ultimately we have all the data. We have all of this.
That's the bit that blows my mind on all this. That actually, I mean, I wish I had it when I was an operator, right? But having that ability to the crystal ball, right? Because it's not really crystal ball, because you're not making it up. Yeah. It's actually going to happen.
And why we can use and why we can work on this is because, again, we have the first party data.
Yeah.
We know the quality of data. We can fully use it. But again, and the second part, which I said, we have a tool then back that is customer facing. So it's not just, let's say there's a lot of back-end systems, and at the moment they're AI-based or even some POS systems that tell you, look, we think you need to stock yourself with more wine and all of this, which is, by the way, brilliant. It helps operators cut the costs and then really operate in this much more smoother and optimized way. But there's nothing customer facing, nothing revenue driven. It's nothing that's impacting the direct revenue. But what if that AI is reading all that first party data, and we can still supplement it with third party data, but then it can feed it back to the consumer and use that data to help drive more business across walk-ins, delivery, click and collect, web ordering, kiosk ordering, and whatever else you want to launch. So for us, it was really how to build a model that it tells you exactly what to do based on not just ideas, but things that actually genuinely work, based on your data, external data, internal data, lookalike data, and really give you the tools to maximize your sales and loyalty and whatever you want to achieve. But this is really where we're building, and we're going to be adding more stuff around the product, and we're now going to try to all the parts which I think are very good but not best in class yet. That's the next few months, just make it best in class. And then scaling the team. I mean, we haven't really increased the team for several years. I think something like 3 years, and we've been growing like crazy. The growth has been amazing given the few people we had. So now it's the first time for a few years where we've hired quite a few people.
It's been a big deal for you, though, actually hiring more people in, because when you have a small team like that, you become you're like a family, aren't you? You're quite tight. Yeah. And all of a sudden you've got to bring some, because every new person brings a new bit of culture to the team.
Although we still, we were like 18, 19 people last couple of years now, including everyone. Now we're increasing it to like 26, 27. So still not massive, but it's the first time where I can go and invest into scaling this. So scaling UK, but also other countries. We have customers in over 10 countries. We're actively selling in 2, and definitely want to double down on that. And then, launching new countries actively next year as well, because the opportunity is there. We just get so many, so many. Given that we don't do anything to generate them, we get quite a lot of reverse inquiries from other countries, and we always ask them, why are you reaching out to us? We're not marketing in your play. We don't even have the solution in your language. Isn't it anything in your country, in your city that's sort of good or better? And they say, no, we haven't really found anything, and we got recommended or saw it somewhere, et cetera, et cetera. So I think there's a big opportunity for us as well to take on.
You're doing it right now. Yeah. So the podcast right now, and obviously you're joining the marketplace, which is great. So and we'll have you on there. What about if people want to get hold of you, if they listen to you today and they want to reach out? I mean, just for a conversation actually with you, which I think would be riveting. They need to book out an hour. But if they wanted to, because you're talking about a solution for their business, right? What I loved about the conversation the last half hour was that a lot of it was about revenue and about profit, and I think sometimes we just get lost a little bit in tech, and actually the reality is we've got to make more money, we've got to make more profit. I mean, it's the basis of business, right? You just have to.
That's why you open the door.
And we all want to do the lovely stuff in between. That's why we love hospitality, right? To work with great people and serve great food. But actually, we've got to, this industry has got to become more viable in terms of its economics, and we're not going to get there through doing what we used to do. So it's about adopting changes and about really kind of taking chances on product and people like you, I suppose, who are really obsessed with being best in class, which I think is a lovely way to kind of wrap it up. What if people want to get hold of you? Is there a website where they can go and check you guys out?
So I mean, if they want to reach out personally, then definitely find me on LinkedIn.
You have to get his name right.
Get my name right, or find Embargo and you find me there as well. And then definitely for our website, if you're interested to find out more about the product, you can book a demo with our team. You can also just contact us and drop us a message to basically say, what are you looking for? What are your questions? And our team, usually reply same day or latest next day. So we have people who are there to help you. I get involved with a lot of demos and a lot of customer conversations as well. So you can also expect me there. And just reach out. And what we usually say as well is, at the end of the day, we're there to show you what we do best. There will be a situation where maybe, we're not the best solution for your particular type of business or what you're looking for, but we're always very open to have a chat and I think also just guide you through things, because how I see it is that the more operators just generally look into tech and don't just take things for granted or become more savvy in the way they choose, we'll be in a better place.
Yeah,
like, not everyone has to use our solution.
I think there's been a culture of fear built around demos, like generally built around reaching out. Like, it's like a secrecy where operators have to act in a really undercover way to try and find the right product. I mean, I know I say this because I'm encouraging it, but be open. Say I want, and also say no. British people are so bad at saying no. I know a customer, I won't name them, who've done demos with multiple partners, right, in the same category, and haven't got back to any of them telling them yes or no. And it just doesn't make sense. Just say no. It's okay. No. And the tech guys are more than happy to be told no.
It's normal. But I think also very important is like, whatever solution you have as a business owner, your job is also to constantly challenge that. And what I mean by that is, like, I know you're busy, but if you do believe that your ordering system, your load system, CRM is an important part of your business, do take the time, let's say once a month or even once a quarter, to book a couple of demos with other solutions. Just compare it. Even if you don't move there, just even use it as a benchmark to go to your provider and say,
smart.
Why are you not doing this? Like, everyone will be happy to talk to you. Use this as free support.
It's a competitive advantage. I mean, from your employee side, to keep your best employees happy, have the best systems. From your customer side, to keep your customers happy and frequenting you, have the best systems. And obviously there's a budget attached to that. I get all that, but keeping it top of mind and under, like what a salesperson would do, trying to get new sales. From a consumer point of view, stay relevant, stay informed. So that's why we do this. It's why we meet brilliant people like you, and it's why we built the marketplace and everything in the start, because we were just like, we have to find a way to kind of bring the two together a bit more
and make it easier.
And not feel like it's some kind of weird society that no one wants to talk about. But anyway, look, that was Freddy from the brilliant Embargo. If you haven't, go and check them out. If you haven't seen them, go and check them out. This will be out soon, so you can listen to that. Any plans for the rest of the day, my friend?
Back to the office, quite a few big
back
meetings.
To building.
Back to building. As I mentioned, we've just very excited to roll out some exciting brands. Like, actually, this week rolling out Island Poke across all the sites.
Wow, that's a cool one.
We've just closed, as you mentioned, another chain of 55 sites, which we're just preparing everything as well. So loads of stuff at the moment going on. This week is absolutely mental. So we're back in the office. Going to be probably a late one, but super exciting. I think I've never seen such a shift as well, where more operators generally want everything in one, but they want everything in one sort of as best in class, and they are savvier than ever. I think they've tried things. I think the last few years was obviously very overwhelming for them because there's so many solutions. It's exciting. It's exciting.
Brilliant.
Awesome.
Thank you, my friend. Look, take care. Don't stay up too late tonight. I'm going for a lem sip. We'll see you all later.
Nice.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Chris.